Good morning. There is a correlation between giving and prosperity. Without a doubt, the US is the most prosperous nation on the face of the earth. But a lot of people do not realize America is a giving nation. According to World Giving Index, an annual report published by UK-based Charity AIDS Foundation, based on data gathered by Gallup, the US was the most generous nation in the past 1 decade. In 2018 alone, charities in the US donated $427.71 billion US dollars. At the individual level, American people were found to be the most generous people on earth in the past 1 decade. Based on that survey, where 1.3 million people participated across 128 countries between the year 2009 and 2018. If you struggle with giving, you do not have the American DNA. If you struggle with giving, you belong to the minority takers, not the majority givers of this great nation. But generous as America is, only 1% of the federal budget goes to charity. Compare that with 20% of the federal budget goes to defense. One can loosely say America sends more bombs than food, water, clothing, and other basic necessities to other countries of the world. At the individual level, while American people were found to be the most generous people in the past 1 decade, in the last 2 years, they were ranked behind Myanmar, Indonesia, and Kenya, which implies American generosity is, generally speaking, on the decline. As an individual, I am never very comfortable speaking about my giving in public. But to do justice to this momentous conversation, allow me to share with you four stories of families we have supported in the past 4 weeks over and above a church where my wife and I are the main financial supporters. Just in the last 4 weeks, we gave to a boy by the name Eric, 14-year-old boy, who was born with acute cerebral palsy, and the mother passed on at the dawn of this year. Not only that, we went beyond that and mobilized a lot of people to give towards the well-being of Eric. We gave towards a 3-month-old infant by the name Grace, who was born with a hole in her heart. 3 weeks ago, we gave to a teen girl, who lost her brother. And fourthly, we rescued a family from a brothel, a house of prostitutes, a single mom with her 14-year-old boy and 12-year-old girl who went to live in a brothel, a house of prostitutes, when they were ejected from their family house because they could not pay rent. She had reached her end. Her mom, her own mother, died of HIV/AIDS after a long career in prostitution. Her HIV/AIDS-laden sister was killed in the same industry. Her distant relatives did not want to be associated with her. They didn't want anything to do with her because of her being a sex worker. And that's the part of the world where such people are orchestrated, sidelined, and judged. So she thought there was no hope for her, and she decided she's going to kill her 2 kids and then committed suicide. But her sixth sense, an inner voice, told her to inbox me to find out whether there was still hope for such a family. She's one of my ardent followers on social media, YouTube and Facebook. I have thousands of people who follow me on Facebook. I do Facebook Live every week. I have over 450 videos on YouTube. She doesn't know me. I don't know her, but she knows me, like many other people who write to me. Mind you, she was not looking for money from me. Many people write looking for money, and any of us here can be overwhelmed by such massive requests. She was only looking for one word of hope, one more reason to live for. My wife and I, we discussed and decided to send them some money immediately to get out of the brothel that night and rent a house. We sent them some little money for food and school fees for the 2 kids. The firstborn, 14-year-old boy, is in what in America you call grade 9, and the daughter equivalent of what here we call grade 7. And they were able to go to school. That part of the world, you have to pay school fees. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the life, the hope in this family of 3 defies description. A family that had lost hope and had decided to call it a day. Now they have a reason to live. We gave her some more money to start a small business in selling clothes. We are aware it may take a couple of months for this business to fed for the family, but we've got to start somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share with you this morning why we give as a family and why giving is important. To help you remember my message today, I have structured the 4 lessons using the acronym GIVE, G-I-V-E. G for good, I for impact, V for value, E for echo, E-C-H-O. So I'll request you only once to say this after me, only once. So let's try. Say this after me. G for good, I for impact, V for value, E for echo. Thank you so much. You're so kind. So lesson number 1, why give? Give to add value to people. And the key word here is fulfillment. Here is the deal. Each one of us is looking for happiness and fulfillment in life. In the Declaration of Independence, it says, every person has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But is happiness today the plight of the majority? I bet not. Which begs the question, how come happiness and fulfillment is so elusive in the society today? How come depression is on the rise? How come hopelessness is on the rise in the world today? It is because a lot of people have never realized happiness and fulfillment is not a result of what we get, but a result of what we give. We give to ourselves by giving of ourselves. We give to ourselves when we give to others. The happiest people, the most fulfilled people are those who do the most for others. The happiest people are those who give to this world more than they take out of this world. In any day, givers are happier than takers. This principle is scientifically proven and culturally sound. From a scientific perspective, when you give, you activate serotonin in your blood system. What's that? Serotonin is the fulfillment hormone. Giving is a major mood booster. Giving works on your health. It boosts your health and your wealth. From a scientific perspective, every time you give, you live longer, you are happier, you live healthier. From a cultural perspective, giving is a concept shared by many cultures and faiths across many ages and has its root deep into pre-literate history. Perhaps this is why President JFK advised, ask not what your country will do for you. Ask what you will do for your country. You see, giving opens your eyes to see the endless needs of others. Giving diminishes the spirit of entitlement. Giving makes us appreciate what we have and manage our expectations in life. When you give, you see the enormous needs of others. When you begin to see the enormous needs of others, you begin to realize how minute your own problems are. When you immerse yourself into the mountain of needs around you, you begin to see how meaningless and baseless your own complaints are. You appreciate your job with renewed commitment. You appreciate your family with unprecedented love and devotion. You appreciate your country with renewed loyalty. You appreciate your health and wealth with humility. When you begin to give, you start seeing problems in the right perspective. Giving helps you to stop magnifying your problems and put them where they belong, in their right place. Giving helps you to realize your blessings far outweigh your problems. You see, ladies and gentlemen, what brings fulfillment in life is gratitude. Gratitude is the highest human emotion. Nothing triggers gratitude more than sharing what you have with others. Why give? Give to add value to others. Give to be happy. Give to be fulfilled. Lesson number 2. Are you still with me? Yeah. Lesson number 2. Why give? I for? Impact. Michael got it. Giving causes impact. And the key word here is transformation. When you give, not to tick a checkbox, but when you give from the bottom of your heart to cause a real difference in another person's life, you initiate a domino effect. Like the building up of a snowball, every single life you transform is potentially an agent of change. Everyone you touch, you trigger a change. And that's why it's written. You know, if you want to touch the past, touch a rock. If you want to touch the present, touch a flower. But if you want to touch the future, touch a life. That is the whole essence. And the idea here is not to shake the world, but to make a worthy contribution. The idea here is not to live forever. The idea here is to do things that live forever, to do something that cannot be erased from history. So allow me to ask you a sensitive question. Who will die when you die? Who will feel deflated by your death? Who will feel like life has been sucked out of them because you're gone? These are harsh questions, but what I'm asking in simple language: who will cry when you die? Who will mourn your departure? Who genuinely loves you? I'm not talking about your loved ones, your immediate family. I'm not talking about your inner circles. I'm not talking about professional mourners who want to prove to the custodian of your estate that you are close for whatever reason. But I'm asking, who has food because you gave? Who has medicine because of your intervention? Who went to school because you provided? Who will talk about you long after you're gone? The response to these questions is your legacy. That's what I'm talking about right here. About 2.7 billion people right now as I talk to you live in less than $2 a day. Millions of children die each year due to malnutrition. And I understand it's difficult for many of you here to see that reality. But I grew up in a country where a minority few, a small elite group, swim in a vast sea of wealth, while millions anguish in the dungeons of abject poverty. And I want you to know, poverty in many countries is systemic. Poverty is the worst form of violence. Almost every conflict has its roots to the fight of resources, scarce resources, especially if they land in the hands of a minority few. They are alienating the majority. So every time you give, because poverty robs people of their human dignity and makes the world less safe for each one of us. When you give, you contribute to world stability more than any armed mission. Why? Because people without a hope can be potentially dangerous. Some people without a hope have blown themselves up under the instructions of their warlords. They have nothing to lose, they have nothing to live for. What we are doing here today has a profound impact towards world stability. We cannot ignore the needs of people around us. We are too wise to give a blind eye to the needs in the world today. We are too wise to ignore lessons from history. In the words of Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Let me invite you to reflect on the experience of Martin Niemöller during World War II. The prominent speaker eloquently explains how good people did nothing for the spread of Nazism in Germany. He says, look, the silence of good people, professors and architects, engineers and doctors and lawyers, marketers, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, the clergy, and men and women of different professionals. Their silence, he writes, and I quote, "They came for the socialists, and I did not speak, because I am not a socialist. They came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak. Why? Because I am not a trade unionist. They came for the Jews, and I did not speak. Why? Because I am not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." Why give? Give for world stability. Whatever you do here today has a profound impact on your own security and that of generations to come. You are securing the world for you and for your children's children every time you give to a worthy cause. Lesson number 3. V for? Somebody? V for? Value. V for? Value. Give to add value to people. The key word here is legacy. When you give, you connect with something larger than yourself. Legacy is not measured by what you have to do. Legacy is measured by what you don't have to do. Planting trees whose shade may never shelter you. Building homes you may never live. Building hospitals you may never visit as a patient. Building schools your children may never attend. Buying food that you may never eat. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Gates does not need to work for a single day. But the man is busy in some of the world's trouble spots. Why? Because he has realized legacy is not leaving something for people, but leaving something in people. He has realized legacy is not what he leaves behind, but who he leaves behind. He has realized his legacy will not be written on his tombstone, but in people's lives. You don't write your legacy when you age. You are writing your legacy right now. As we speak right now, you are writing your own legacy. It is not something that happens long after we are gone. That's what we are doing right now. In the long walk to freedom, President Nelson Mandela wrote, "Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that generation." I add my voice this morning. Will you be that generation? Giving not only adds value to people, but it reveals your values. Money does not change people, money reveals people. It is very easy for you to tell me what you value. But as a speaker, as a life coach who has worked with many executives for about 20 years, especially in the areas of emotional intelligence, 5 areas: emotional intelligence, personal branding, raising the standards, strategic thinking, and personal leadership. And more so in the area of strategic thinking, I've worked with many executives and goal setting on a personal one-on-one. Because personally, I never facilitate any strategic plan before I teach people about strategic thinking. You people know having a strategic plan and having a strategy are not synonymous. You agree with me? As someone who has coached people for a long time, if you can tell me what you value, but if I really want to know what you value, I'll just check how you spend your money. Money reveals your priorities. Money reveals your choices. Money reveals the condition of your heart. Where your treasure is, there your heart is. You see, you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. If you love a cause, if you love something, you put your money there. It's easy to say, I hate crime. It's easy to say, I hate child abuse. I hate poverty. I hate discrimination. But if I really want to know whether you really hate that, whether you loathe it from the depth of your heart, I need to check how you spend your resources. Because when you spend money somewhere, you throw your heart over. Because you want to know whether your money is being put to good use. So if I really want to know what you value, I will check your budget, how you spend your money. It reveals who you are. Giving confirms our human brotherhood. Giving reveals a deeper appreciation of our human connectedness. You see, all of us are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface, but connected in the deep. Human beings, we are inherently a social species. We have survived and thrived because we have supported each other. Even in the jungle, animals support their own kind. Failure to give is living way below animalistic instincts. If there is something within you that resents giving, it is a major threat to the existence of the human race. We were created to support one another, to need one another, to create social support systems. Only then does the human society survive. Ancient Egyptians believed in reincarnation. So when the Pharaoh died, they used to bury him in the pyramids. The pyramids are nothing more but the graves of their fallen kings. And they used to bury the pharaohs together with their treasure, precious gems, gold, silver, diamonds. Strange enough, they would bury them with their servants alive. The idea was, when the Pharaoh reaches the other side of the great divide, he will have his servants ready to serve him and his treasure. He will not start from scratch. He will not be a commoner even in the other life. I have had the privilege of visiting the pyramids of Egypt more than once, like some of you here. And you agree with me, over the years, those treasures have been vandalized by robbers and various empires that conquered ancient Egypt. If I may quote the words of Jesus, store up your treasures where moth and rust cannot destroy, and where thieves cannot break into and steal. How then do we store up our treasures where moth and rust cannot destroy, and thieves can't break and steal? By giving to the needy, by investing to a worthy cause, by doing what you don't have to do, but you're rising to the call of duty, to the call of humanity. If you invest in others, you don't have to invest for them. So why give? Give to add value to people. Does that make sense? Lesson number 4, echo. And I chose the word echo here because everything you throw in life comes back to you. And the key word here is philosophy. The way you look at your world, the way you see your world, where we make giving a way of life, our culture. In the 1880s, a story is told of a poor Scottish farmer who went to his farm to eke a living for his family. When he heard the cry from a nearby bog, it was the scream of a boy who was drowning in a swamp. The poor farmer by the name Fleming immediately dropped his farm tools and ran toward the swamp. And there, mired to the waist by black muck, was a boy who was screaming for help and struggling to save his life. And Fleming saved this land from perhaps what could have been a slow and excruciating death. The following morning, a fancy vehicle pulled over to the humble residence of Farmer Fleming. An elegantly dressed nobleman got out of the vehicle and introduced himself. He told Fleming, "I am the father of the boy that you saved yesterday, and I came here today to repay you for your kindness." Waving off the offer, Fleming told him, "No, you can't do that. You can't repay me. I was just helping." At that precise moment, the farmer's boy by the name Alex came out of their house. And the nobleman asked, "Is that your son?" "Sure he is." "Okay, therefore, allow me to make you a deal. Let me take your son Alex and give him the same level of education that my own son will enjoy. And perhaps if the boy is just like his father, he will live up to be someone we will both be proud of." "That I will accept," Farmer Fleming said. And Alex had the opportunity to attend some of the finest schools in Great Britain. And years later, he graduated from St. Mary's Medical School and became known the whole world as Sir Alexander Fleming, the man who discovered penicillin. Years later, in 1943, the same boy who was drowning in the swamp was stricken by pneumonia. And what saved his life this time round was penicillin. The name of the nobleman, Lord Randolph Churchill. The name of his son, Sir Winston Churchill. "Give, and it shall come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." Maybe the life experiences of Winston Churchill made him to conclude, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Life is an echo. Whatever you do in this world comes back to you. If you're surrounded by mountains and you shout the words, "I love you," you will hear your own echo. "I love you, you. The cosmos is an immense sounding board, and whatever one does bounces off and goes back to the sender. When you give, you create way for receiving. When you give, life has a way of giving you back the same vibe. We grow by raising each other. It takes greatness to lift someone else. Small people, small insecure people pull others down. Great people raise others up. Throughout history, those who tried to enrich themselves, those who tried to climb up the ranks of power, fame, and fortune by eliminating others, were eventually themselves eliminated. Great people recognize they rise higher by lifting others. Every single person you raise it takes you higher. Every single one of them you raise, it takes you that much higher. This philosophy will make you see giving as a privilege, not as a daunting burden or as a compulsory duty. And let me break down the philosophy for you. When you learn, teach. When you teach, you master what you learn. When you get, give. When you give, you master your money. When you do not give, money masters you. Money controls you. Money becomes your God. Money becomes an idol. You begin to work for money. And guess what? Money will never be enough. Never work for money. You are never created to pursue money, riches, honor, and fame. You are designed to pursue a higher ideal. You are created to pursue the reason for your existence, the purpose for which you are made. Money was meant to be a byproduct of pursuit of a higher calling. You see, when you are motivated, when you are inspired by a higher calling, you look up to Monday morning. You begin to love your job. Why? What you do is what you love. What you love is what you do. You're inspired by something greater than yourself, adding value to the cause of humanity. Never allow money to be at the steering wheel of your life. Just like fire, money is a good servant, but a bad master. Giving is the proof you're not bowed by greed and driven by materialism. Giving is the living proof, the acid test. You do not have an emotional attachment with money. People kill for money. Deals going sour. As the scripture says, the love of money is the root of all evil. How do you master your money? You master your money by making giving your way of life. Master your money, master your life. Master your money, master yourself. Thank you, and God bless you.